What's good, guys? It is your Dime Anime Midnight, and we're gonna hop into part 3 of what have gone within My Hero. But I just want to say something really quickly, and that is thank you for all the supports on part 1 and 2. And also follow me on Twitter so we can stay connected and y'all can stay up to date with any plans or changes that might happen with this series or any other series on this and on the gaming channel. With that out the way, let's start with part 3 of What If Gong was in My Hero. So, in the beginning of part 3, Gong is just waking up after passing out from using too much energy versus his match with Bakugo. And a mysterious hero walks into the room holding a copy of his x-rays, just kind of saying how interesting it is that Gong is quirkless but is able to do as much as he can. Gong laughs and just tells him like he told everyone else. He learned how to do it while training and playing on the island. The hero then introduces himself, saying that he apologizes for being rude and just looking at his x-ray without his position, and that his name is Pancration. For you who watched the My Hero movie, this is the guy who looks like he's from Greece. That is him, and his power is super strength. Okay, got it? Let's keep moving. Gong tells him he doesn't really mind. Just kind of curious about why he's here in the first place. Pancration tells him that I was really intrigued after watching your fight, especially your one against Bakugo, and he's impressed with how well he did, given the fact that he seems to be quirkless. Gong tells him thank you, but he wishes he could do more, that even while he was in the fight, he never really felt like he was ahead of everything. But even more so, he doesn't really remember the last moments. He just kind of remembers a giant blast and then waking up where he is now in the hospital. Pancration tells him that he's actually very intrigued, and to Gong's surprise, he actually might have a quirk. Gong is really just thrown aback, asking why he would think that, and he explains to Gong that the foot structure of people who have quirks and don't have quirks are different, and that Gong looks like he went up the evolutionary tree when it comes to that, and saying that he would only be able to confirm this though back at his Hero Association office. Gong asks him if he'll be able to meet him so they can try to learn this, and he tells him that he's pretty sure if Gong wants to learn it, he'll have an upcoming chance soon. The next thing is I'm back at school. Everyone's kind of talking about the sports festival and how impressive everyone was. Bakugo is still fuming that one, that Gong was able to compete with him so well, and two, that Shoto didn't use his flames against him. Deku is extremely impressed with Gong, just wondering how he's able to get as far as he does without having to quirk, and actually asking to team up and train some more in their off time. Gong obviously is more than happy to learn, and also saying he was very impressed with Deku and his ability to use his quirks, noting how much Deku has improved from the beginning of their time at school to where he is now. During this time, the students have to pick their hero name, and they're also informed about the internship. This is where the part of the story for me I think gets very interesting, because of where Gong plays. He has about 300 and something people who want him in their hero agency. My bad, hero agency. And to much of his surprise, Pancration is on the list. So Gong already knows where he wants to go because he's very interested in Pancration and his potential quirk. But when it comes to his hero name, he doesn't really have one. He's never thought about it. A couple people tell him he should be the hunter, because he grew up on an island hunting people, and he kind of uses his fishing pole as a weapon. Kind of like hunters use weapons while they're doing that. Gong really doesn't know, and said he's just gonna go with Gong. After seeing Shoto just go with Shoto, he thinks that it's okay. And so then he goes off to the hero agency with Pancration. And right when they meet, he asks him very excitedly, what does he think his quirk is? Pancration tells him to calm down because it's a rather long explanation. To make it simple, quirk is an evolutionary factor, and it works differently for different people. Some people get powers that seem human-like in the general term, such as being able to shoot fire and ice like Shoto, where others seem to just be able to break their limits that's normally put upon them by their brain, such as people like All Might and Deku, normally just looked at as super strength. And he said, then there are certain people who's able to use their actual life force, their aura, and manipulate it in certain ways. These people are very rare because it's not a quirk that most people normally ever know they have. Some people randomly fall upon it, but most are taught by other users. They're normally called nin users, and the ability to use it is normally just called nin. Gong is pretty confused at this, and he says, why do you think I have it? Pancration tells Gong that he seems to be what they would call a nin genius. Somebody who's able to use their nin without ever actually knowing what nin is. And he says he noticed this when he was going against Bakugo, saying that he used two techniques of nin, one being Zetsu, which is the ability to conceal one's aura, basically making one's presence go away, and the other one being Rin, which is being able to shoot out a bunch of aura, actually increasing your physical strength and abilities. And he said that the fact that Gong said he was quirkless means that he's most likely doing this unconsciously. Gong says he does know certain times he did that, and that he picked up on, I guess, what's called the Zetsu, just by hunting animals out on his island. So the way he could truly find this out is by actually hitting Gong with some of his own nin, some of his own aura, saying that doing this to a normal person would be very dangerous. But because of his quirk, he's actually able to not only use nin in a much simpler manner, he's learning it quicker, and it's less dangerous. But if Pancration is wrong, that this could actually seriously harm Gong, so he wants to make sure that he's up to the task, telling him that even without nin, Gong has the potential to be an amazing hero. Gong says he's ready for the risk, and he's excited to see and learn if he has a quirk. Pancration ends up doing the nin baptism, and he bathes Gong in his nin, and needless to say, Gong is able to not only feel his nin, feel his aura coming out of him, he's able to instinctively use Tin, which is the ability to control one's aura. This blows Pancration back, just looking at how good Gong is at naturally using his nin. So Pancration tells him that he'll bring him along with him during his fights and during the time he's out being a hero, but what he primarily wants Gong to focus on are these four major points, which is Tin, Zetsu, Rin, and Hatsu. Gong and Pancration focus on that throughout the majority of the week. But before Gong leaves, Pancration says he wants to try to find out what type of aura Gong has. Gong's excited to know, also a little confused because him and Pancration never really spoke upon it. Pancration quickly tells Gong that those are multiple types of auras, and they're able to use those type of auras, generally speaking, in different ways, saying that all auras are able to do all different types except for copy the specialist ability, which are a rarity among rarities. But that even if you are an enhancer, you can use something called manipulation and vice versa. So they end up using the water divinity test, which is basically a leaf on top of a water, and then they use their aura around the cup, and whatever happens to the water tells what type of aura they have. Gong ends up being an enhancer, just like he is in Hunter x Hunter, and Pancration tells him what that generally entails. He also tells Gong at the end of the internship that he should continue to practice those 4 key principles, and that if he has any questions in the future, to feel free to contact him, and that he would love to help him grow more and more as a hero. So After that, Gong goes back and everyone in the class is talking about their internship. More interested everyone is about Deku, Shoto, and Tenya about their confrontation with Stan, how scary and dangerous it was, and just talking about how much they thought they grew and just happy that they're safe. And then we immediately go into the race. So in this scenario, Gong is going to be in the race with Deku's group. And just like in the show, Deku goes out to a lead, impressing everyone. But before that, a few people note that Gong seems a lot calmer than normal. And while the race is going, Gong is using his fishing pole and he's as agile as everyone expects him to be. But then he suddenly releases a surge of aura from him that everyone can kind of feel. But unlike the malice aura he's done in the past where he was angry during matches, this was a more peaceful, calm aura that people can feel, but it doesn't make anything less impressive as he shoots past Deku and smiles. Deku's impressed, but this is actually what causes Deku to trip in this scenario, in where Seto normally wins in the anime and manga. Gong ends up taking first place in this scenario. Everyone asks Gong what that was and what was that feeling that they have, and he smiles and just says he found out he had a quirk. And that's how we're going to end part 3. Again, thank you all for showing up, and continue to put whatever thoughts and comments you have in the comment sections below, and we will see you next time.